Thank you for the privilege of your time. Welcome to the SALVANT report. My name is LEGRND PARISIEN SALVANT, and we say blessed weekend to our listeners worldwide. WOTS 1220 AM, Kissimmee, Orlando. Radio Delta 88.9 FM, Long Island, New York. WSUV 960 AM on the World Beat in West Palm Beach. Today again, we're going to share some suggestions, some ideas with you as it relates to the new economic geography. Because the post-American world economy has arrived. The American president radical shift in economic approach has already begun to change norms, behaviors, and institutions globally. Like a major earthquake, he has given rise to new features in the landscape and rendered many existing economic structure unusable. And this event was a political choice, not an inevitable natural disaster. To understand these changes, we're going to use some of the thought and reflection of Mr. Adam S. Posen in an article that he has written on the Foreign Affairs last August the 19th, 2025. And to understand these changes that we talk about the world economy, many analysts and politicians focus on the degree to which supply chains and trade in manufactured goods are shifting between the US and China. But that focus is too narrow. Asking whether the US or China will remain central to the world's economy, or looking primarily at trade balances, yields a dramatic underestimate of the scope and impact of the American president change approach and how comprehensively the prior U.S. framework undergirded the economic decision made by almost every state, financial institution, and company worldwide. The American president has switched the U.S. role from global insurer to extractor of profit. In essence, the global public goods that the United States provided after the end of World War II, among others, the ability to securely navigate the air and seas, the presumption that property is safe from expropriation, rules from international trade, and a stable dollar's asset in which to transact businesses and store money can be thought of in economic terms as form of insurance. The US was the global insurer of the economic worldwide. And a lot of institutions, a lot of countries thought that they were safe because the US was the global insurer. Now, because of all these changes, because the U.S. withdrawal of its former insurance will fundamentally change the behavior of the country's clients and its client's client, and not in the ways the American president hopes. China, by example, the country whose behavior most U.S. officials want to change, will likely be the least affected, while the United closest allies will be the most damaged. Next week, on the SALVANT report, we will talk about the China model. What China has done since 2013 to prepare for this moment. Some people will argue that the American president's new posture will simply drive a potentially desirable realignment. In this view, although his program requires both governments and businesses to pay more for less, the world will ultimately accept his new normal to the United States benefit. That's what these politicians think or thought. But this is a delusion. This is a delusion. In the world the American president's program creates, everyone will suffer, not least the United States of America. The American president is not only actor responsible for the breakdown of the economic regime that prevailed for early years. Let's repeat that again. The American president is not the only actor responsible for the breakdown of the economic regime that prevailed for early years. The list of contributing factors is long. And if we take the insurance regime, that the United States was the global insurer, but other factors just like the rise of China and the U.S. response played a part in the breakdown of the economic regime that prevailed for early years. And we continue to find out that in truth, the U.S. president's approach, tariff, threats, will do the greatest damage to the economies that are most closely tied to the U.S. economy and took the previous rule of the game most for granted. The U.S. president approach will do the greatest damage to the economies that are most closely tied to the U.S. economy and took the previous rule of the game most for granted. We can name Canada, Japan, Mexico, South Korea, and the UK, United Kingdom. All these economies closest to the U.S. economy, they are the ones who are going to pay the price. And a really heavy price. Now that the sense of safety is gone. Remember, we were talking about the US providing the insurance for the economies globally, for it was playing the role of a global insurer. So now, because the US president is getting rid of these safety net and asking other countries or the economy to pay more for less, that sense of safety is gone. Imagine again, we were talking about some kind of insurance, and you have a property, a beachfront house. You are paying premium on your insurance, and the insurance company promised you to protect you and protect your property. Now, some threats to your property have started to increase. Because it was a beachfront house, we're taking that example. Now, the sea levels are rising. Hurricanes are becoming deadlier. Instead of simply raising your premium, however, your insurer, the insurance company, which you have long trusted and dutifully paid, suddenly begins to refuse your claims for damage unless you pay double your official rate and slip the insurer something extra under the table too. The US, as the global insurer for the past 80 years, now changing the rules of the game. And as an insurance company, now you see that the threats to your property, that's mean, let's say what now, to your economy, to your country, have started to increase. As you relate to your beachfront house, the sea levels are rising and hurricanes are becoming deadlier. And you talk to the insurance company, instead of simply raising your premium, now he refused your claim for damages unless you pay double your premium and you got to give him something under the table, something extra. What's going to happen? We think that in this scenario that the US is playing in the hands of China. China, that they want to change the behavior, is going to be the economy that profits the most from this new economy. That's why. Who profits in a post-American world? China. Let's say that because of all this, what will be the consequences? We have the new economic geography. Who profits? Who's going to profit in a post-American world where the US is not the global insurer anymore, which he has done for 80 years, pushing countries to respect the rule of trade, the international rule, how to invest. But now it changes. One thing that we can tell you, let's talk about savings. Even if you have some countries In every country, there are poor people. We can even say that it's natural. But some countries has money to save. Let's talk about saving. The problem that the people in Washington, the official in Washington and the White House cannot see is the underlying problem that the world has more saving than it has safe places to store them. Cash rich supplies economies. Places such as China, Germany, Saudi Arabia, as well as smaller but striking examples such as Norway, Singapore, and United Arab Emirates, they cannot keep all their saving at home. And for three reasons. And Mr. Adam S. Rosen in his article on the foreign affairs lists three reasons why these cash-rich supplies economies, China, Germany, Saudi Arabia, and then Norway, Singapore, and United Arab Emirates, they cannot keep their saving at home. Three reasons. The first, their savers will lack diversification if a country-specific shock hits their economy. If they leave the money at home, there's a risk to lose the money. The second reason Mr. Rosen talked about is just like forcing huge amount of saving into this mostly small market would distort asset prices, leading to bubbles, financial instability, and abrupt shift in employment patterns, which they don't want, which is not good for the country, which is not good for the economy. That's the second reason. And the third reason, such countries, just like we talk about China, Germany, Saudi Arabia, and less striking example, just like Norway, Singapore, and United Arab Emirates, such countries that do not issue enough public debt, at least not enough that foreigners want to hold. Just when you look at the America U.S. national debt, $37 trillion. And Japan is the number one country holding more of that debt. This is why, for decades, the uniquely deep, broad, and apparently safe U.S. Treasuries market and dollar-denominated assets in general have absorbed the lion's shares of the world excess savings. So without knowing, because maybe by ignorance, or maybe not even thinking about that, even if the poverty everywhere, the world has more saving than safe places to store them. And Mr. Rosen talked about three reasons why they cannot keep that money at home. So with the U.S. president approach, the U.S. assets that were viewed as a low to no risk are no longer safe. No longer safe. And we remember that the dollar's dominance which is the currency of the world economy. The dollar's dominance, which went beyond, well beyond what the U.S. state GDP or share of global trade would have justified, constituted another win-win type of insurance. So who profits? Who profits in a post-American world? Now, the dollar appears to be behaving the way that most currencies do, which is to move in the opposite direction to interest rate. When the dollar and the American was safe, the American asset was safe, and the dollar's dominance constituted another win-win type of insurance, American and foreign asset holders have benefited. Even when a financial and a geopolitical shock originated in the U.S., investors assume that the U.S. economy will remain safer than others. Remember when the U.S. market directly triggered worldwide recession in 2008, interest rate and the dollar fell and then rose together as capital from abroad flowed into the U.S. market. Now, the dollar appears. Now the dollar appears to be behaving the way that most currencies do, which is to move in the opposite direction to interest rate. You can see that on April 2nd, it was called the Liberation Day tariff. And in May, we come with the one big, beautiful bill, which was a spending package that the president signed any other day but July 4th, the Independence Day. Very ironic. And in response to each of these events, the dollar fell while U.S. long-term interest rose, indicating a capital outflow in response to turmoil. People are taking out their money. The American administration, hostile and unpredictable approach toward U.S.-led military alliances has further to eroded support for the dollar. We talk about the dollar dominance for 80 years. Who profits in the post-American world, and the post-American world economy has already arrived? The euro. A lot of people are investing, a lot of countries are investing in Europe because the euro offers more benefits to Ukraine, to the Balkan states, and some Middle Eastern and North African countries that aim to reduce the vulnerability to U.S. whims by seeking euro-denominated arms trade investment, loan, and development aid. You are investing in the economy. Let me repeat that again so you understand the dynamic of the world economy right now. Because the post-American world economy has already arrived. The euro offers more benefits to Ukraine, the Balkan states, and some Middle Eastern and North African countries that aim to reduce their vulnerability to U.S. whims by seeking euro-denominated arms, trade, investment, loan, and development aid. U.S. denominated. Now we get to euro. Who is profiting in the post-American world? Who profits from the new economic geography? Number one is China. Because if countries have to self-insure, both government and businesses will become more risk averse and have less available to invest, especially abroad, reinforcing at this time the fragmentation of the world's economy. So at this time, in a post-American world, in a post-American economy, which has already arrived, the post-American world economy. Now, who profits in a post-American economy? Navigating the world's economy was never a smooth road. But after the earthquake of U.S. President's economic regime change, the terrain has become much rougher. We are in a new environment. The terrain, the road was never smooth. That's the world's economy. Because every single country has their own interests. A country doesn't have friends. They have their interests. With the new regime, what do we have and what does that mean? This means a worse world for almost everyone. Amid this change, however, China's immediate economic environment will be the least altered despite the U.S. president's previous claim that he will design his economic policies that to target Beijing more aggressively. China is relatively well positioned to attempt to self-insure after a U.S. withdrawal. China is well positioned to self-insure because the global insurers for the last 80 years was the United States of America. Now, just like what now, with tariff and everything else, they want more premium for less, and même refuse to work with on your claim. China that they are targeting, Beijing is well positioned to attempt to insure itself, that is self-insured, after the U.S. withdraws as being the global insurer. more than any other major economy, China had already begun to reduce its reliance on the US for export, import, investment, and technology. Do you know that Xi Jinping on 2013 talked about the Belt and the Road? And then on 2015, they have identified 10 sectors that they're going to invest their money to take the leadership on the future industries, the industries of the future, which we will talk about next time, to talk about the new China model, where you find that the China will be able to self-insure, and then even though it's not going to be able to play the same role as a global insurer, for just like the US has played that role for the last 80 years, but China will not be affected just like the US official think, and that they were going to really target Beijing. Xi Jinping, Beijing, China, they were already prepared for this day. They were already prepared for this day. And we're going to see that we had some information as it relates to the countries, NATO countries, who has ordered, okay, yes, that's what. For instance, talking about the post-American world, or post-American economy, world economy. And the country not relying on the US as the global insurer that he has played that role for 80 years, the past 80 years. For instance, we just found out that orders for Eurofighter jets as an alternative to US combat aircraft have surged among NATO members such as Spain and Turkey. Instead of buying US combat aircraft, they see they're placing order for Eurofighter jets. And the Indonesian government, in the spring of 2025, this year, struck new economic deals with China, including an approximately $3 billion twin industrial park project that will link central Java with Fujian province. $2 billion. And this project is expected to create thousands of jobs in Indonesia at a moment when nothing of that kind is on offer from the US. And the other dynamics, Indonesia's central bank and the People's Bank of China have also agreed to promote trade in local currencies. That's when they're not going to use the American dollar. And the two countries have vowed to strengthen their maritime cooperation. Both deals surprise U.S. policymakers. The U.S. policymakers not thinking not forward thinking. They were surprised by those deals. What's going on? Do we have people in a think tank thinking strategically for the U.S. now? These are the consequences of the regime change. These are the consequences of the U.S. not playing the role of a global insurer that he has played for the past 80 years for a stable world economy as a global insurer. And I'm telling you, it's not sustainable for the EU, and certainly not for the Asian country, to economically isolate China. And the gain from doing business with China will only increase as the United States of America leaves the scene. It's going to be increased. When we talk about capital, capital seek opportunity, but also security. Capital seek opportunity so they can make more money. They can make profit. But in the meantime, they seek security. A security that was provided for the past 80 years by the U.S. of America, playing the role as a global insurer. Now the U.S. is leaving the scene. Who profits in a post-American world? Who profits? There will be opportunities in the new landscape. There will be opportunity in the new landscape. And a lot of countries are positioning themselves so to take advantage of the new opportunity now. But they will involve the U.S. economy less and less. There will be opportunity in the new landscape, but they will involve the U.S. economy less and less. And a lot of countries know that that opportunity they are there, and they have to take advantage of the opportunity. And they will take advantage of the new opportunities, because they know opportunity is a perishable good. They will take advantage of that. And China and the other countries from the EU, they are going to always to seek to maintain the function and influence of the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the World Trade Organization, protecting this institution from paralysis as China or the US seek to veto necessary initiative. The EU, they're going to have some comprehensive and progressive agreement. Oh, it is a tragic and destructive irony that in the name of national security, the United States of America is now enjoying the allies that have contributed to most of its economic well-being while leaving China for far less disadvantage. It is a tragic and destructive irony that in the name of national security, the US is now enjoying the allies that have contributed the most to its economic well-being while leaving China, that the US is targeting, far less disadvantage. America first becomes America alone. As for the United States of America itself, no matter how many bilateral trade deals it brokers, no matter how many economies appear at first to align with Washington at a high cost, the country will find itself increasingly bypass in commerce and technology and less able to influence other countries' investment and security decisions. Increasingly bypass. European, Asian, and even Brazilian and Turkish brands will likely gain market share at American companies' expense, while technical standards for products such as automobiles and financial services technology will increasingly diverge from the US norm. As the song goes, you don't know what you have got till it's gone. The US administration has paved paradise and put up a casino with what will soon be an empty parking lot. Thanks for your time. Thank you for the privilege of your time. The SALVANT report. Blessed weekend. Next time. Thank you very much.